James Morrison and the big band of Liechtenstein, all the way from Europe. They're an 18-piece band. It's going to be grand. But right now, of November, right across the country, he is bringing the big band Liechtenstein to Australia for the very first time. Let's get in the mood, though, shall we? This is an original composition from James Morrison with the band. The song is called The Master Plan, and James Morrison will join us in just a tick. I'm Renee Crosh. This is Evenings. We're right across 702 Sydney, 666 Canberra, and ABC Radio New South Wales. This is what you've got to look forward to. musicians that are kind of synonymous with their genre, don't you think? Like they kind of own the whole style. They're that iconic. So Kylie and pop, Barnsey and rock, Troy Cassar-Daley and country, and I think James Morrison and jazz and that trumpet. 40 years ago, James Morrison and his brother formed the Morrison Brothers Big Band. It was a 13-piece group, but we've largely got to know James Morrison as a solo artist, haven't we? But now he is back with another big band, and this time it's with the big band Liechtenstein. They're going to perform next month at the State Theatre in Sydney on Thursday the 20th of November, and James Morrison joins us now on Evenings. Hello, James.
Hi, Renee.
Great to have you here. Thank you for your time. So all those years ago, you formed a 13-piece big band with your brother, known as the Morrison Brothers Big Band. Big Bad Band.
The Big Bad Band, that one was, yes. Oh, look, I've always loved big band music, and it's a particular style of jazz that obviously, you know, the name refers to it's a large group for a jazz band, usually around 18 pieces. But just the sound of it, you know, I mean, I could be a tiny bit biased perhaps, but, you know, trumpet sounds good, but 5 trumpets is better. and 4 trombones and 5 saxophones and a rhythm section, it's a great sound. And you mentioned this big band Liechtenstein. There are so many different ways of saying that. I'm getting close, I think. When they say it, I can't quite pick it, but Liechtenstein. Anyway, I've been touring, you know, Europe for so long now, and I've been playing with them for a couple of decades all over Europe. We've done tours together, made a couple of albums, and as you do when you sort of got, you know, what are now old friends and great musicians that I work with, you say, oh, you guys have got to come to Australia sometime. And they go, yeah, that'd be great. And then eventually one of them said, well, are we going to do it? And I said, you know what? Let's see if we can make it happen. Because getting a whole big band, you know, from Europe to Australia is not easy. And as far as I know, and someone might be able to correct me, but I can't remember a European big band touring Australia ever. I think I would have noticed.
You would have. I'm sure you would have. How
so
big are
this
they?
Could be historic. It's about it's 18 piece, and so it's what we call a full size big band. That 13 piece that John and I had all those years ago was, you know, the economy size big band.
How did you
full band?
How did you come to be a part of the Liechtenstein band?
I know it's almost impossible to say, isn't it?
It's too difficult for us with our English persuasion. It's such a tiny country, isn't it? Wedged between Germany and Switzerland, you can't even access it by airport.
No, you land in the nearest thing. Land in Switzerland and drive there. But I got invited many years ago because I was touring Europe a lot. I got invited to guest with them, and I knew of them, and lots of great artists had guested with them. They were quite well known, and I said, yeah, I'd love to play with them, and I did. And then we really hit it off, and so I've done a lot of gigs with them, and as I said, a lot of tourings and recording, and it's going to be a thrill to bring them to Australia because, of course, they know me. And I'm sorry to tell the audience and tell everyone, but they've been judging Australia by me for nearly 20 years. So they're going to get here and find out how close they were. I hope I've done us proud. But, you know.
What did you tell them? What did you tell them about us, James? We know that you were born in a tiny little rural town of Burrawa. Did you tell them about Burrawa?
I did. I told them about Burrawa. I haven't done that thing that you do sometimes with people overseas. We say to them, oh, yeah, we've got lots of kangaroos in the backyard. Because I do live in suburban Sydney, so we don't. But not far away, though. I haven't got to go far and I can see roos in the bush. But I have sort of, you know, I've definitely, as you do when you're overseas, played up all our good points. Well, let's face it, that's almost all there are, you know. And I did, but I was putting together the itinerary recently, just sort of some of the things and putting little notes on it for them. And I thought, how do I tell them how far it is from Sydney to Perth when we do that, you know, jump in the tour? And I thought, I know. And so I've written down, today we will travel 37 Liechtensteins.
Right. Because for them, because for them,
37 Liechtensteins between Sydney and Perth. That's
I mean, they think going to Switzerland is a big effort.
Yeah, they think Switzerland's big. Yeah.
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 It is such a curious country, isn't it? I don't think many of us know a lot about it, except that it's got a lot of medieval castles, an amazing landscape, and this incredible kind of financial sector that makes it
Yeah.
such a wealthy nation.
Well, that's one of the reasons they can bring the big band here, because they've got sponsors there, to get here. I said, I'll organise a tour once you get here, but can you arrive? And so it's got that big financial sector, and it's very beautiful, the countryside. They've got Alps and beautiful valleys and lakes and all sorts of things, and it's pretty. And I asked the questions that they probably get sick of being asked. I said, so do you guys all know each other, like everyone in the country?
Like Burrawa.
Exactly, yeah. But I guess we could say we're bringing the biggest band from the littlest country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, they've been together for a long time. It's like 35 years or something.
Yeah, 35
The
years.
same
so,
people, the same members.
pretty much. I mean, a couple of members have changed over that time, but a lot of the founding members are still in the band. So this is a pretty big milestone for them. They've had all sorts of milestones and done so much over there, but a pretty big milestone for them to come to the other side of the world. And I did check, not only, of course, has the band never been here, but no one in the band, like individually on holidays or whatever, has ever been to Australia. So
Wow.
it's going to be a real hoot when they arrive.
So a
And,
massive experience for them, but also,
Yeah.
as you've said, we haven't seen in Australia a big band like this possibly
No.
ever. So what can we expect as the audience?
Well, that's an interesting thing too, because people here, of course, know my playing and music, but when I tour with an Australian big band, which I try to do every year, they're used to sort of that classic big band thing where we play a lot of swing music, a lot of music, and from what we would call the sort of the golden age of big bands. The European big bands on the whole, and particularly big band Liechtenstein, tend to be a little different. They do that stuff too, but they also do a lot of other music. They do a lot of what we would refer to, I guess, as funk and Latin music, and they use the big band instrumentation to play that sort of stuff. So people are going to hear some different grooves, I guess, is what we'd say, than what they might hear with me with a big band normally. And they really like doing things like taking more contemporary material, but still, let's face it, quite historic. You'll understand what I mean when I tell you what sort of material, but not the sort of classic jazz of the 40s and 50s. They'll take things like Stevie Wonder tunes and do those with a big band. And that is a lot of fun. I can't wait for people to hear that. So I'm excited for them to see Australia, but I'm equally excited for the Australian audiences to hear this European big band.
Absolutely. James Morrison is here performing with the big band Liechtenstein at the State Theatre in Sydney on Thursday, the 20th of November, and then they tour the rest of the country. Tell us a bit more about the band leader, Benno Marxa. He is one of a kind, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Benno is a character. There's no other way of putting it. And we have a lot of other things in common too. I discovered shortly after meeting him that he liked cars, and I'm a bit of a car person. And he has a few, old cars in a shed in Liechtenstein that he takes out driving around the hills there. And so we've had a lot of fun doing that. But he is a character, and it's his personality, I think, that's held this big band together for 35 years. He's a trombone player, and on their 35th anniversary, they asked me to write a piece, which I did for the band, and we recorded it called Blues for Benno. So we'll be playing that on the tour too.
I read that he once said recently that he dreams about music. He often can't even sleep. He's so passionate, so enthusiastic, and such a legend of the entire music scene across the country. Maybe even Europe.
Well, everyone, around the European scene there, everyone knows Benno, and sort of he's one of those fixtures of the scene that's been around. No one even can remember when they met him or where. Now it's one of those, they just sort of go, and I've always known Benno.
Now,
so it's great to have him in the band.
You're not only playing with this big band of 18 musicians, you've also composed some of the music that we'll hear when you come to Australia playing in November. Tell us about the music that you've composed for them or with them.
Well, I've composed and arranged. So just, for anyone who's not sure of the difference, compose, of course, is, easy to understand. You make up the song. Arranged is when you take some material and create a version of it for this setting for big band. And so an example of that would be, say, Stevie Wonder tune or something else that you take it, and we obviously didn't compose it, but you arrange it. So I've done both. and composing some of the material for it's just, some of my songs that I've written that I thought, oh, this is an opportunity to hear them in that setting, with a big band. And the arrangements, as I say, are equally as exciting because you get to take familiar songs, familiar to everybody, and sort of say, I bet you've never heard it like this. And
Yeah, that's
that's a lot
fun.
of fun too. And another thing I'm really happy about with this tour too, because they're coming all the way from the other side of the world to Australia. Anybody who comes to Australia, of course, sees Sydney and goes to Melbourne and sees those things. But I said, we've got to go some regional places too. So we're playing the Evoca Theatre, something. Imagine these guys from all the way from Europe, and they're used to playing, in Vienna and in Berlin and wherever. Suddenly they're at the Evoca Beach Theatre. That's going to be a hoot. And we're going to Port Macquarie. We're going to Byron. I thought that we're going to do a trip down the coast from Brisbane and play these theatres on the way down. So the Glass House in Port Macquarie, which will be great. So I'm thrilled for them to see a little bit more of Australia, but also, when was the last time a European big band came through Byron Bay? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's
never.
really good. It's really, really fun. We just heard one of your songs that you composed, The Master Plan, which was kind of almost like something from a spy movie. It almost had the remnants of a Pink Panther style to it.
Yeah, there's a bit of that inspiration in there for sure. Absolutely. And that's what's fun when you write things and then you sort of hear the influences, that have gone into them. And to capture that kind of feeling, because I'm a huge, Pink Panther fan, and that theme originally was played by a big band.
We're about to hear another one of your compositions. What should we hear, Up Late or Zog's Jog?
Oh, well, it depends on whether you want to hear absolutely frantic notes. Zog's Jog is one of those. It's a bebop style, and Up Late's got another kind of groove. Actually, probably a little bit more like what we're doing with Big Band Liechtenstein on the tour.
All right, well, let's hear Up Late in just a moment. But before we let you go, James Morrison, I do want to mention the great Australian jazz icon, Don Burrows, who sadly died 5 years ago or something. But he was really a mentor to you, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I started playing with Don at the age of 16 and toured with his band extensively, and he mentored me and, for some years. And then after a while, I was off doing my own thing, but we'd get together. And then I got the opportunity to invite him on a tour with me around Europe then some years later, which was just a great thrill to be able to say to your mentor, look, can I return the favour and host you? And of course, I sort of stayed a very close friend of his right to the end of his life in his 90s. So it was an amazing opportunity to know Don.
Many people speak of Don Burrows so highly that he was the first to kind of take Australian jazz to the world and then bring it home to Australians, sort of really, I guess, opening up jazz for Australians to appreciate kind of what it can give. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. He definitely had a wider audience than anyone I can think of as a jazz musician in Australia, and of course, then going around the world to places that Australians had never been. And to this day, all these years later, still most Australian jazz musicians haven't been the places Don Burrows went and played where he played. So it's just quite amazing. And to have him as a mentor and as a friend was just an incredible blessing.
And James, I guess similarly, I think there would be a whole host of jazz musicians who would say that you have done the same thing for them.
Well, thank you, and I'd hope so. I'd like to think so, because that was a legacy that Don passed on to me, and I took very seriously to keep passing on what he'd given to me to as many of the next generation as I can, and I still do that all the time. And as he said to me, he said, apart from something you really should do, because, we're so lucky to play this music, and I agree, but also it's such an inspiration, too, to be the mentor, not the mentee, to be mentoring others younger. I can see how it felt for Don now, perhaps, when he's mentoring me. It's very inspiring.
How is it that a boy from Burrawa, with a Methodist minister as a father, has an entire family that are all such brilliant musicians? I mean, maybe you are the most famous, but all of your siblings play music.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there in the water in Burrawa. I've toured for many years with my brother John, and my sister Kath plays trumpet, and And now it's happening in my family. I mean, on these tours, I go around the world all the time. I just come back a few days ago from Vienna and Bratislava, and I'm off to Mexico and the States and then back to Europe again next week. In fact, just in time to get back for this tour with Big Band Liechtenstein. And on that tour, I'll have two of my sons with me. So it's happening in my family, the next generation.
The gene is strong. You play all the instruments, don't you? Trombone, tuba, saxophone, clarinet, double bass, guitar, piano, and, of course, the trumpet.
And the trumpet, yes. I play most things. Yep, I play most things, particularly in a jazz sense. Those instruments. Yeah, I just always liked. I'd hear things and go, "That sounds great. I want to do that too." And it never occurred to me that it was something sort of, different to say, "Well, I'll play trumpet, then I'll play saxophone." I didn't think, "Oh, I'm taking on something new." I just thought it was another sound you make as a jazz player. So that didn't sort of. I wasn't thinking, I think I'll be a multi-instrumentalist. I don't think I even knew that term. I just thought you played jazz on whatever you could get your hands on.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. How many trumpets do you own?
I really don't know. And that sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? It sounds like, oh, he's got so many. It wouldn't be that many, but I don't know. I'd have to go and check. I'd have to kind of a look in the in
5,
the shed.
10, 20?
I think somewhere between 5 and 10, maybe a couple more, because you have some different ones for different reasons. And then you have some that, then you've got old ones that you sort of have moved on from, but you don't let them go necessarily. I did accumulate too many a few years ago. And so I went through them all and made sure they were all working properly, the old ones and everything, and were good horns, and then donated them all to some schools. So I thought that was a lot of fun, just think that those horns are out there now having a second life.
Like a violin, does a trumpet get better with age?
Not really like a violin, no, because violins absolutely do get better and better with age. Good trumpets don't get worse with age. That's probably the best way to say it. Because the trumpet's more of a machine, it's not made out of wood, it's made out of brass. So it has moving parts that wear, But a good trumpet virtually lasts forever.
Yeah. And unlike rock stars, you're never going to throw down your trumpet at the end of a gig, are you?
No, or set fire to it or any of those things that I've seen rock bands do. You? No, you tend to look after your horn if you can.
Yeah.
I have been known to throw mine up in the air and catch it and all that, and there have been some, unfortunately, 1 or 2 times when I missed, but they were fixable.
James Morrison with Europe's big band Liechtenstein, performing right across the trap. So not just in Sydney at the State Theatre, but regionally as well. You can check out where he'll be. Just look it up. I'll leave you now with one of James Morrison's compositions. It's called Up Late. I think you'll love it. Thank you, James Morrison.
Thank you.
James Morrison and the big band Liechtenstein coming November. State Theatre in Sydney, Thursday the 20th of November, but a big regional tour from Byron Bay all the way down the coast. Check it out. It's going to be a big night. Coming up